Hey, welcome to this Ask eNRG question. And it's actually a question not from a particular person because I've gotten asked this question quite a bit. So I'm just going to generally answer this because it is such a popular question, especially because the documentary Don't Die came out a while ago. If you've not, or if you're not familiar with this, the Don't Die documentary on Netflix, I'd actually highly recommend watching it. It's about Bryan Johnson, who is the owner of Blueprint, which is a company. But it's a really interesting document. And kind of what he's doing with his life is he's spending a lot of money to try to basically prolong his longevity and look at a whole bunch of different biomarkers from nutrition and physiology to face to skin care to hair care to stress, like you name it, this guy is doing it. So what I'm going to do, because this actually just recently came out, and I'm going to be referring to my notes below here, but he published his morning routine. And I've had a lot of athletes and individuals say, "Hey, what do you think of his morning routine?" So I thought I'd answer it, right? Okay, so first off, highly recommend watching the documentary. Whether or not you agree with what he's doing, I don't think it's kind of past the point. I respect what he's trying to do because he's trying to use science to try to answer more questions. Granted, it's only N of one, it's only him, although he does have his son doing some of these things also, but I'm only going to speak for what he's doing. Now, again, it's N of one. He's thrown a crazy amount of money at this. Again, my personal opinion is, I think he's onto some things, right? Obviously, it's his physiology and how he responds to all these different things that he's doing. But I kind of respect what he's doing because he is trying to push that envelope. I've always been kind of the what I affectionately call that salmon swimming upstream, and I kind of feel like he's the same way, always questioning why, always trying to do better. Now, there are some things that I'm going to read through that, yeah, you might be like, scratch your head, why is he doing that? But anyway, whatever you think of it, right? It's your opinion, but I do recommend watching the documentary on Netflix. Now, let's get into his morning routine. So some of these things I'm not going to comment on because I am not an expert on everything that he is doing, but I'm going to highlight some of his nutrition things and some other things that I feel like I could talk about. So first thing that he does, wakes up at 5 o'clock. He wakes up naturally, no alarm. I love that. I love that to death. I wish more people could do that, but unfortunately, not all of us have that opportunity to be able to do that. Obviously, that starts with sleep, but anyway, we'll get past that. Okay, he does take his core temperature, which interestingly, he found that his body's core temperature is 94 degrees versus the normal 98.7, which most of us are. So he actually has a lower core temperature based on all of his health protocols that he's doing. I'm not going to really comment on that too much because that's more the physiology behind things. But he goes right into taking his weight. He steps on a scale. He uses this withing scale. He says takes his weight, his fat, his muscle hydration, and arterial stiffness. Okay, good. He's tracking markers. Great. He also does some breathing and some light exposure, which I highly, highly recommend. So he does a 5-minute breathing exercise or meditation. Fantastic. He does note that he wakes up before sunrise, so he actually uses a light, a 10,000 lux light, for a few minutes to help stimulate that natural morning light. Fantastic. Again, if you're in an area like that, I'd highly recommend it if you don't have that normal sunshine when you wake up. Now, he does do a hair and scalp routine. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but maybe he's onto something, right? He uses some hair serum, massages his scalp, does all this great thing to improve blood flow on the head. But again, not my scope of practice. Let's move on. All right, let's get into the good stuff. So the first round of his hydration and supplementation. So it says initially he drinks 8 ounces of a mix that is designed to support longevity. So let me get into this a little bit. I'm going to have to refer to a few things here. So he drinks one, now let me actually stop here. Since doing this, he has expanded his company over the past few years to include a lot of these things that he does, obviously, right? And you'll see this in the documentary if you watch it. But he has a lot of supplements and some food products now that he is taking personally. So again, is there bias there? Sure, but he's doing it, he's providing it. I'm just providing a little bit of my input and overall review of this. So back to this. He takes 1 scoop of his Blueprint longevity mix. So I had to look that up just to see what was in it. And so his longevity mix has a lot of, a ton of different things. Now, you should understand that I forgot how many pills he started taking in the morning, but if you watch the documentary, it's a crazy amount of pills in the morning, like crazy amount. And it's just like drawers full and they're very organized. But I believe what he's trying to do with a lot of his supplements and food products is trying to get away from a lot of taking pills and putting it more like in a supplemental form, possibly that he can drink. So this one has a ton of things like creatine, glycine, L-theanine, sodium hyaluronate, vitamin C, lysine, taurine, calcium, magnesium, kind of a multivitamin with some extra bonus things in there, right? So he's taking one scoop of that in the morning, and then he's also using 11 grams of his collagen protein. And then he's also adding an additional 2.5 grams of creatine. So he takes a total of 5 grams of creatine. So he's putting in this Blueprint longevity mix, collagen, creatine, and some prebiotic powder along with inulin, which is also a prebiotic fiber. So he's got some prebiotics, some creatine, a lot of different like micronutrients and collagen in this first morning drink. Okay. I mean, I don't really have a problem with that at all. I mean, obviously, some of those I've talked about in the past, I talked about on my podcast. I mean, some of these fantastic, right? I mean, you can question maybe some of the ingredients in the longevity mix just because there isn't a lot of research on all these things combined. But you know what? I look at this and I'm always thinking, is it safe? Yes, most likely. Okay. So now he gets into exercise and movement at about 5:30 a.m. So he has this drink at about 5:25. Then he does some exercise and movement. So he says he trains for about 60 to 90 minutes. He focuses on balance, flexibility, strength training, and cardiovascular. So he includes high intensity resistance training and functional movement. Love that to death. I absolutely do. I think that's a great balance. Spoken as an exercise physiologist and strength coach, I think that's a great balance. I mean, obviously, he's not training for an ultra marathon. He's not training for a competitive event. He's training for life. He's training for longevity, right? So to me, this makes sense. He does say on the weekends, he hikes, he plays pickleball, rides a bike, he climbs, he does other outdoor activities. Love that, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to do, like cross train, especially if we're trying to improve longevity. We're not just trying to stick with one specific exercise. We want to vary it up a little bit, especially with the different aerobic and energy or anaerobic energy systems to try to make sure that the body is receiving everything it needs from an activity perspective. So I do thumbs up on his exercise and movement. Okay, so after that, he actually eats breakfast. So this says breakfast and supplement routine. So this is at 6:45. He has his first meal, and this is Blueprint protein. So he prepares this Blueprint protein powder with his blueberry nut mix, of which this nut mix contains dried blueberries, roasted macadamia nuts, and walnut mix. So again, think about that. It's a granola, but not a granola, right? He's putting that in with some Blueprint protein powder with more collagen, 11 grams more collagen. He's adding a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, of which he has one in his company. It's called the Blueprint Extra Virgin Olive Oil. And he adds his Blueprint cocoa to that. So he adds 6 grams of cocoa. Dark cocoa is fantastic, by the way. It's got amazing polyphenols, amazing antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, amazing, right? So again, I look at this, I'm like, okay, so he's eating dried fruit, nuts, collagen, olive oil, cocoa powder, and some protein powder. Great. I mean, honestly, nothing bad to say about that at all. Not to say good or bad, but I mean, that's a great balance. And I'm thinking, again, from a blood sugar perspective, metabolic efficiency training, solid. I think it's absolutely solid. Now, I don't know how to taste, but it sounds good. All right, now he goes into his supplements. So he takes some, and again, most of the first 4 of these are under his company because he has developed these supplements. So the first one is Blueprint Essential Capsules. Let me go to that one. Let me tell you what's in it. So these essential capsules, it's kind of, I mean, I'm looking at the ingredients: vitamin D, vitamin E, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin. So you've got a lot of B vitamins. So basically a B complex in there. You've got calcium, iodine, zinc, selenium, and then you have other things like broccoli seed extract, Fisetin, which is actually one longevity supplement. Interestingly enough, fisetin you can find in strawberries. It has luteolin, it has ubiquinol, it has a probiotic in there, it has boron, it has lithium. So it's kind of like a multivitamin with a lot of extra stuff. Okay. So he takes 2 capsules of that, and then he takes a soft gel. And now the soft gel specifically is designed actually for eye health, vision health. So it has lutein, lycopene, astaxanthin, vitamin K2, zeaxanthin, and vitamin K, or another vitamin K2 as a different source. So a lot to do with eye health and vision health there. Okay, then he takes NAC plus ginger plus curcumin, which again, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories. He also takes his Blueprint red yeast rice and odor-free garlic. So red yeast rice has actually been shown in improving blood lipids, and garlic is good for just about everything. So again, I look at these things, I'm like, okay, essential capsules, kind of a micronutrient, and a lot more than that. Soft gel, which you're looking at eye health, vision health, antioxidants, ginger, NAC, curcumin, anti-inflammatories, red yeast rice plus odor-free garlic, great in terms of antioxidants and possible blood lipid favorable controlling mechanisms. Okay, I mean, it's a lot of supplements, but I mean, a lot of these, I mean, especially the ingredients, can't really argue with them too much. Now, I'm not going into the dosages of the micronutrients and all the ingredients because that's sometimes where you need to be a little picky. Okay, wait, I'm not done with the supplements yet. He takes also fish oil. So it says EPA, DHA, and DPA, which are 3 different fish oil. He takes 800 milligrams of that, but takes that, anti-inflammatory, good cognitive functioning. He takes probutyrate, which is a short chain fatty acid. So you actually get that. Your body actually develops and makes short chain fatty acids when you eat prebiotics from fiber-rich foods, fruits, veggies, whole grains, nuts, seeds. So you can actually make short chain fatty acids, but he is taking some. He also takes proferrin, which is an iron supplement. And then he takes either NR or NMN. Those are very controversial these days in terms of it helps with its anti-aging, with longevity, with cellular health, mitochondrial biogenesis. I don't think the research is really supporting taking those right now, at least, maybe in the future. He also takes acarbose and metformin. Now, those specifically have to do with those are prescription that have to do with lowering blood sugar and controlling blood sugar, specifically people in type 2 diabetes. But a lot of people these days who are really trying to promote longevity and getting into that scene are taking, especially metformin. I've never heard of acarbose before, but metformin is very popular with type 2 diabetics who take that. But so he is taking those. So when you look at it, I mean, yeah, is it a lot of supplements? Absolutely. I feel like most of them are very pointed. So he's not just kind of throwing the spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. They're very specific. And I think and I know in watching his documentary and reading about this, what he's doing, he's trying to target different physiological systems and pathways in his body. So I can see why he takes each one of these, because what he's trying to do in his body, it's not just like, hey, take a multivitamin, see what happens, right? He's very targeted in his supplement intake. So I don't have too much to say about this, except for the NR or NMN, maybe the acarbose and metformin. Again, I mean, I don't know if those are necessary, but again, what he's doing is kind of an experiment and a one. Okay, then he goes on to do a skin and hygiene routine after breakfast. So he washes his face, he applies sunscreen, he showers using a body wash, and he exfoliates with a Japanese washcloth. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not an expert in that at all. Hair care, he washes his hair. Evidently, he has his own shampoo line also. So again, he's got some hair serum, some shampoo. So he's taking care of his face and his hair. And then after that, he goes for a 10-minute walk. He calls it a walk and a work focus. So he takes a quick 10-minute walk outside before he starts work. Love that to death, not only because of the walking, helping regulate blood sugar, which he probably doesn't need to do because 1, he's eating pretty well to regulate blood sugar. 2, he's actually taking some supplements slash medication or prescription medications to help blood sugar control anyway. But I love the 10-minute walk just to kind of refresh the brain, cognitive focus, but also just to get some more steps in the day, right? And then he calls it to finish his morning, he stops or he starts this at 9 a.m. He has his second meal of the day. Okay. Now, this is important because this is actually a little bit more, as I'm looking at it, a lot more food based. So, the first meal or the first feeding of the day, he's focusing more on his nut mix, collagen, extra virgin olive oil, cocoa, which again, you can get from food that isn't branded Blueprint. But the second mid-morning fuel at 9 a.m. is all food-based. So here's what he has. He has he has a second meal a day. It's called Super Veggie. Now, this includes black lentils, broccoli, cauliflower, shiitake mushrooms, garlic, ginger root, lime, cumin, apple cider vinegar, hemp seeds, and 1 to 4 tablespoons of fermented foods like cabbage, kimchi, or beets. Then he drizzles all this with 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Good. I mean, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, okay, it might need a little bit of salt and pepper, but besides that, again, I can't argue with a lot of these, the health benefits and the phytochemicals with a lot of these products or a lot of these foods that he's putting in there. I mean, again, they make sense. I don't know how they taste. That's why I was thinking maybe sprinkle it with a little bit of salt and pepper. But hey, it is what it is, and it's still providing protein, carbohydrate. He's got some good fats in there. He's got hemp seed. He's got probiotics. So again, can't really argue with what he's doing here in terms of how he's putting his food together. So looking at all this, he is actually done at about 9:30, it says, right? So this is where he kind of focuses, he's kind of working, he's going throughout his day, and that's his morning routine. So again, call it for what it is. I kind of respect what he's trying to do now. Again, it is N of 1. Don't play the whole statistician thing. Obviously, it's not a research at all. This is real life. He's just trying to manipulate himself. He's just making a lot of waves and getting a lot of press off of it. And again, he has supplement line. He has a food line. So yes, there is a little bit of bias there. But for the most part, I kind of respect what he's doing from a nutrition standpoint. I can't argue with that. Supplement wise, he might be overdoing it just a little bit. But again, I think that's really splitting hairs when it comes to this, because I know what he's trying to do and how much money he's trying to spend in trying to manipulate his health and his longevity. So thanks for keeping in with this one. This was kind of a long one, but again, as you can see, his morning routine is not a get up, eat breakfast, brush your teeth, and get out the door kind of a thing, right? It's very concerted, it's very focused, and very to the point and to the minute or hour. Okay, hope you like this Ask eNRG. Keep the questions coming. We'll see you on the next one.